Welcome to Wolf Recaps. In the opening scene, we're introduced to two friends named Mr. Ho and General Yin, who were planning to assassinate General Tian Ta, a ruthless Manchu government official. It appears that General Tian Ta has been inflicting suffering upon innocent people just for his personal gain. Mr. Ho is an activist teacher who educates his students about fighting for the right causes. One day, as General Tian Ta and his men are en route to a meeting, General Yin, who is hiding on a rooftop, launches a sudden attack on him. This leads to a fierce battle between the two generals. However, General Tian Ta proves to be superior and severely injures General Yin in a public display. His subordinate, Tang Sanyao, then executes General Yin. Later on, three of Mr. Ho's students go to see the execution, and one of them named Lu Yud slowly whispers that Yin was a hero. Tang overhears this and immediately confronts Lu. Fortunately, Lu's father, Wang, appears on the scene and requests Tang to show mercy since they are only students. Wang then advises the students to humble themselves under the rule of their enemy. Later that evening, the three students, who are still uncertain about Wang's advice, pay a visit to their teacher to inquire whether they have the right to speak the truth. In response, Mr. Ho emphasizes the significance of unity, highlighting that the efforts of a single courageous individual are insufficient for a rebellion. The teacher presents them with an opportunity to join his local rebellion against the Manchu government, to which they readily agree. Mr. Ho then discloses information about secret documents belonging to the Manchu that will arrive by sea. Due to this, they have evacuated the area. As a result, he requires a means to bypass customs, and for this, he seeks Lu's assistance since Lu's father operates a seafood store near the beach. The next day, Lu and his friends embark on their mission. They successfully retrieve the secret information and deliver it to Mr. Ho, who then entrusts it to his associate named Lord Zhang. On the other hand, General Tan becomes aware that the rebels are responsible for the operation. Filled with rage, he commands Tang and his soldiers to punish all those involved in the rebellion. In the next scene, we see Tang and his men, who have apprehended one of Lu's companions. And after murdering the entirety of his family, they demand the truth from him. However, Lu's friend chooses to take his own life rather than revealing anything. Following this tragic event, the gangsters proceed to destroy the rest of the students of Mr. Ho's school. They execute all the friends as well as family members of the students, including Lu's father. Determined to escape the town, Lu and one of his friends set off on a journey to seek training in Kung Fu at the Shaolin Temple. They navigate through a forest, but their efforts are in vain as they're soon captured by Tang and his men. The two friends try to flee to save their lives, but sadly, Lu's friend gets caught, which costs him his life. Lu, who is injured during the escaping process, manages to hide behind a huge rock beside a river until Tang and his henchmen leave. Despite his injuries, Lu sets off on a quest to find the Shaolin Temple. After a long walk, he eventually arrives at a nearby village. Seeking guidance, he stops at a food shop and inquires about the location of the Shaolin Temple. According to the shop owner, the temple is at the peak of the mountain. And seeing Lu's deteriorating condition, he doesn't think he can make it. However, demonstrating kindness, the generous shop owner decides to lend a helping hand to Lu. In the early hours of the morning, the Shaolin disciples arrive at the same food shop with a cart to purchase food. Seizing the opportunity, the clever shop owner discreetly places Lu inside one of the baskets. Upon reaching the Shaolin Temple, the monks begin unloading the food baskets. While opening a large basket, they discover Lu lying unconscious inside. Witnessing this, their master instructs them to carry Lu inside, where the temple healers treat his injured leg using natural herbs. After several days, Lu regains consciousness and is astonished to find himself in the Shaolin Temple. Later on, he's presented before the temple's esteemed monks, who initially decline his request to train him because he is an outsider. However, the chief senior abbot believes that Lu's arrival is a result of Lord Buddha's grace and permits him to stay. From that day forward, Lu is given a new name, Sante. A year passes by, and Sante is simply assigned with menial cleaning tasks within the Shaolin Temple. One day, he expresses his dissatisfaction to one of the abbots, stating that his purpose of staying there is to learn Kung Fu. In response, the abbot offers him the opportunity to train in the temple's 35 chambers, each focusing on a different aspect of Kung Fu. Sante is given the freedom to choose, and he selects the most advanced chamber known as the top chamber. As directed by the abbot, Sante proceeds to the top chamber, where he finds the monks diligently reciting Buddhist sutras from memory. Disregarding the importance of the sutras, Sante impulsively demands training. This offends the headmaster of the chamber, so he orders him to leave. When Sante protests, the headmaster knocks him down from a distance, prompting the young man to flee. After this experience, Sante resolves to start from the lowest level of training. Following this, Sante proceeds to the first chamber, where he's taught about lightness, speed, and balance. In this chamber, the disciples in training must leap onto a bundle of floating sticks in a pool of water to reach the dining hall. Falling in the water requires the monk to dry his clothes off before entering the dining hall. Being inexperienced, Sante inevitably falls into the water, preventing him from joining the others in the dining hall. By the time he dries his clothes and finally enters, the meal has already finished. Determined to find a solution, the following day Sante attempts to use the abbot's path to enter the hall, but he's caught by one of the abbots who pushes him back into the water. This prompts Sante to practice tirelessly throughout the day and night in order to overcome this challenge. After numerous attempts, he eventually masters the skill and is now able to cross the obstacle on just 1 foot. With this accomplishment, Sante is promoted to the next chamber, one that focuses on training arm strength. The abbot explains that weapons such as knives, swords, poles, and spears require immense arm strength, making this training crucial. Sante begins the training in which he's assigned the task of carrying buckets of water with attached blades, forcing his arms to remain held straight out. This chamber also serves as the monastery's laundry, incorporating arm training into the daily tasks. Initially struggling, Sante gradually improves and develops formidable arm strength in a relatively short period of time. Upon successfully completing the previous chamber, Sante progresses to the next one, dedicated to wrist strength training. In this chamber, the disciples are tasked with striking a gong using a long bamboo stick with a weighted pull on its edge while also matching the rhythm set by the headmaster's wooden fish. At first, Sante considers it to be an easy task, but his assumption is proven wrong when he struggles to pick up the bamboo stick. Determined to improve, he starts his practice by gripping the stick closer to the weighted pole and gradually increasing the distance in the later days. Each passing day, his ability to hold the bamboo stick from the bottom improves, and he's finally able to synchronize with the abbot's rhythm. The next chamber focuses on training eyesight. Here, the disciples must fix their gaze on a moving light without moving their heads or risk being burned by large incense sticks. Sante prepares himself for this task. Initially, he manages to maintain a steady focus for a few moments, but he accidentally moves his head, resulting in his face getting burned. Undeterred by the setback, he perseveres with his training. After a few days, he's assigned the additional task of carefully observing the obstacles and striking the one that reflects light. In this field, Sante showcases his best moves, leaving a lasting impression on the abbot, who then promotes him to yet another chamber. The sixth chamber is the one that trains on developing head strength. Trainees are assigned with the task of using headbutts to break through a quarter of sandbags and then placing incense sticks on an altar. The abbot explains that this chamber serves as the final conditioning stage, and upon successfully passing it, Sante will be permitted to learn kung fu techniques. With his unwavering determination, Sante undertakes the training and ultimately conquers the challenge. One day, the chief abbot summons Sante and commends his resolute spirit, acknowledging that he's achieved a new record by completing all the basic training in less than 25 months. Starting from the following day, Sante is then sent to the seventh chamber, where he receives instructions in empty hand forms and various fists and palm techniques. As time passes by, Sante progresses through the leg chamber, sword chamber, and stick chamber, impressively mastering kicking, broadsword techniques, and staff techniques within a span of 6 years. Sante advances at a faster pace than any previous student, greatly impressing the chief abbot. As a result, the chief abbot offers him the opportunity to become in charge of any chamber he desires. However, the disciplined chief holds reservations and believes that Sante is not suitable for the role. To determine his worthiness, the disciplined chief challenges Sante to a fight and agrees to promote him if he emerges victorious. Then, Sante engages in several exhibition matches with the disciplined chief, but he's defeated each time. After suffering multiple defeats, Sante invents a 3-section staff, utilizing it in their final confrontation. With this new weapon, Sante emerges triumphant over the disciplined chief, earning the permission to become the in charge of one of the chambers. The chief abbot grants him 3 days to contemplate and decide which chamber he wishes to oversee. After the 3-day period, Sante professes that he wants to establish a new chamber where he can train ordinary people in the fundamentals of Kung Fu, enabling them to defend themselves against their oppressors. Initially, the officials forbid him from pursuing this endeavor, citing their non-involvement in worldly affairs. However, the temple secretly banishes Sante in a clandestine manner, allowing him to fulfill his mission. Following this, Sunday returns to the outside world, namely to his hometown, and discovers that Dang is still torturing the people. But this time, Sante intervenes and imparts a lesson to Tang. He overpowers him easily but doesn't kill him due to his adherence to Buddhist principles. Instead, a young student named Luo Sai carries out the act on Sante's behalf. He expresses his desire to learn Kung Fu and earnestly pleads with Sante to accept him as his disciple. In the aftermath of this incident, Sante moves through the town, helping people and gathering a group of dedicated young men who choose to follow him, becoming his first students. Elsewhere, General Tianta becomes infuriated by the demise of his right-hand man, Tang. He commands his men to identify the culprit responsible and administer punishment. In accordance with these instructions, the henchmen, led by a leader named Chang, apprehend several young men as suspects in Tang's murder. Chang is on the verge of executing them all, but at the same time, Sante appears and declares himself as Tang's killer. Upon hearing this, Chang and his henchmen launch an assault against Sante. But despite their superior numbers, they are unable to overpower him. As the battle ensues, Chang is inadvertently stabbed by his own men, resulting in his immediate demise. Enraged by the news, General Tianta takes matters into his own hands. The very next day, accompanied by his soldiers, he sets out to locate the monk. However, on their way, Sante's students swiftly take down the general's men. Sante then leads the general to an open area where they engage in an intense and furious duel. Armed with two swords, General Tianta faces off against Sante, who wields his trusty three-section staff. As a result of his extensive kung fu training, Sante proves to be the stronger fighter, overpowering the general and finally putting an end to his oppressive rule. In the final scene, Sante returns to the Shaolin Temple and establishes the 36th Chamber, a special martial arts class for lay people to learn Kung Fu. Thank you for joining us on Wolf Recaps. If you enjoyed it, please like, subscribe, and hit the bell icon for more exciting recaps.